today's Jupiter. And Jupiter, it takes a longer time for Jupiter to settle in to comprehend what comprehension is. It's like understanding. And it's a little puzzle to talk about it. We've talked about it in pieces, how Jupiter, when you read it, Jupiter is the god of joviality and good luck and opportunity. So, but it doesn't exactly describe the function. It's also the planet of bad luck or distorted luck. So Jupiter's purpose is your guiding light. You know, it's your morals and principles and ethics that guide what you do and how you think and how you value and how you feel confident. So Jupiter has it's like what's right. It's how you. It's kind of how you. It's not a judgment. It's how you convince yourself something's okay. Well, that's okay, or I'll do this. It is your assessment of what you're capable of doing or not doing. Or now, everybody's capable of being really good or really bad. And in different situations and under certain circumstances, anybody could be horrible or anybody could be really noble or really good. So this it's not exactly a judgment, it's assessment of who you are, what you can do, what you're capable of, how far you can go, what's involved in it, what you need to do. For Jupiter, on a simple level, it is a planet of, it exaggerates, it encourages. It could discourage too, but it's really, if you're doing something, it's one thing to just go on adrenaline. It's another thing if you have some understanding or some sense of scope of where you're going and what needs to be done. So this, when you're 1 year old, it's enough to just be able to stand up and wow, that's great, I stood up. But by the time you're 2, you have to understand you can't get into this, you can't do this, you can't do that, this is wrong, or that. You have to begin to understand the results of your actions. And we learn it through actions. We learn it as we put energy out. So while the moon assimilates all your experience, everything that's happening to us goes into our memory. Everything that happens. But Jupiter is assessing what you're putting out and how you're participating in the world and how you're involved in the world and how that's aligned and what's right or wrong around that. The difficulty with Jupiter is when you think of understanding, you have to include misunderstanding or wrong understanding. And is there more understanding and more wrong understanding in the world? I'd like to think it's 50-50. But when we're looking at people and people's lives, well, we're always challenged by what's right and what's wrong, or what we can do or what we can't do, or why we did this or why we didn't do that. There's 2 forces. There's the force of Mars putting energy out. I do this for you. I'm doing this for you. And the force of Mars, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore, just when you get used to it. So Mars has 2 different sides. You can push it out or you can pull it back. Jupiter understands what's right or wrong in putting out or pulling back. You start a relationship, you end a relationship. You start a job, you end a job. So Jupiter's always trying to figure out what's going on. And basically, Jupiter's a 12-year cycle. It takes us 12 years to understand, if something big happens to you, it's going to take you 12 years to understand it, to assimilate the implications of it. And first 6 years is personal, second 6 years is understanding how other people are affected by it and how you judge where you are because of it. So there's an inner and an outer understanding. So it's true, Jupiter tends to put its guidance or its understanding in the sign. It picks up an attitude that's based on the bias towards the sign it's in. It puts its energy into the houses, but understanding can be easier to. Generally, Jupiter is affecting the inner planets and affected by the outer planets. And it's not so much like your thoughts affect your Mercury, affect your Jupiter. It could be argued there is a certain level where your thoughts can affect your understanding, can go with or without, can go with your understanding or against it. But really, it's the understanding imposing itself or directing itself or guiding each planet. And not every planet wants to go along with it. So these are different levels of consciousness. So the part that understands the implications of things, we don't always think it's right, or we might exaggerate, might think we can go without it, or we might think we can. So when we align with Jupiter well, the understanding there's a clear understanding. Sometimes you have to struggle with understanding. And the different levels of you have to fight for it. You fight against it, you fight with it, and eventually you'll learn. If you're wrong, you'll learn. If you're right, your understanding will blossom. It'll be you'll have an affirmation of it, and the understanding will grow. At the same time, stress and fights over understanding over what's right and wrong really help us to mature and grow and develop our understanding, our comprehension of things. You can expect a 2-year-old to have a certain understanding. You can't expect too much of it. You can expect a 12-year-old to have another certain understanding. But you get to a 16 or an 18-year-old, you're going to expect a certain understanding, and you're going to observe. You're going to really observe whether they're thinking right or wrong. And how do you observe it? By their actions, by what they're doing, by who they're doing things with. All of these things, everything we do, everything we're aligned to, everything we're part of, there's a right and wrong, a consciousness, a way of understanding. So, but we're really struggling to get a good understanding across our lifetime. We're struggling to hopefully grow out of the bad understandings and the exaggerated and the excesses that come from a bad understanding, to try and get a clear understanding or good understanding. I mean, we can be so convinced we're doing something and we're sure we're right and we're doing the right thing, and it can be totally wrong. And in the end, we find out we're not getting the luck, or things aren't opening up as easily as we would want them to, or other people are doing better. You have to wonder, why is somebody else doing better? Or how come I'm not getting what I expected? How come it didn't unfold the way I wanted it to? Someone could just, you can decide you want to get a house. And you got your image of this house. Everybody wants to get the biggest, the best house they can, the most Jupiter abundant house they can. But not everybody can afford the biggest thing they can. But they might take out the loans and say, sure, I can carry this. They get the loans, they get it, they go ahead on it. And whoa, they can't carry it. And it becomes a whole bigger, now what do? I can't make the payments. So there's a process of Jupiter just trying to assimilate, understand, and keep alive to what's right, what's wrong, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. But the backbone of Jupiter is Saturn. Oh, my webcam's not working? That's right. Okay. Thank you. Let's see if we got it now. Yes. You got it? Okay, thank you. We got that on time. Okay, good. So, okay, there you go. I was going along thinking I was right all the way along, had it all together, put it out, get the note, oops, have to understand something wasn't working right, had to do it. This is a more mercurial thing, but we're always growing. We're always learning from experience, good and bad experience. The soul still gains the experience. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, the soul still gains the experience. We can learn from an enemy and from a friend. Often we learn more from enemies because it was a bigger struggle to fight against something, and we learn from it. You know, we learn from war. We learn from governments. We learn from justice. Wow. But not always is war good. Not always is. So our excesses of Jupiter, our excesses of actions, of thinking, of ego, of wanting, our excesses, not always right. And when you have too much of something, what are you going to do? Well, what's too much money? What's too much indulgence? What's too much satisfaction? You know, like Jupiter encouraged one to go for more and more and more. Why? So that you'll learn what too much is. So it's considered the lucky planet because it brings you the abundance, but it can bring you abundance of debt just as much as it can bring you abundance of money. So it's not something to be quickly interpreted with someone's chart. It's something you're trying to observe. Where are they at now at this age? Where they are? What are they doing? Are they being guided right? Or do they have a good common sense or not? A good perspective or not? Will be another good example. You have a drink and it seems you have a drink or you smoke a joint and you think it's, wow, this is nice. How could this be wrong? This is so pleasant. How could this be wrong? I want more. But if it's illegal, you get caught, you can spend years in jail over something like that, over something stupid like that you're sure was your right. So there are different rights, different religions, different governments, different points of view, different interpretations of what's right, and different repercussions. So Jupiter really gets its backbone when it understands Saturn, when it aligns with Saturn. If you understand the commitments, if you understand what you're responsible for, if you have a sense of your dad, your boss, your teacher, the law, you have a sense of what's right, how to align with that properly, then it's easier to guide your energy so you don't run into the negative repercussions of father, teacher, boss, the law. Okay, so it guides you to stay out of trouble, but it often can guide you. You can often convince yourself or say, everyone's doing it, so why shouldn't I do it too? Even if something's not really right, but you can get away with it, you do it. I mean, business works on this. But what kind of a person are you? What kind of conscientiousness do you have? That's why Jupiter is a feminine planet. You can't see it. You can't see the edges of it. Yet its presence or lack of presence, when it's working right, it's also blatantly clear. And when it's working wrong, it's so blatantly clear also. Or so blatantly unclear to you. But it's assimilating what you put out, and what you put out comes back. What comes back at you, that's Saturn. Understanding what's going to come back or anticipating what will come back or what won't come back, that's Jupiter. So the laws of the Saturn, the interpretations of them are Jupiter. So there's certain laws for having a body, for being healthy. There's certain laws for thinking. There's certain laws for talking or not talking. There's certain laws for liking or getting what you want, and or having too much or too little. There's certain laws about just being confident or having right or wrong confidence.